Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 13 quarterback start and sit video. We are 2 weeks left of the regular season, and the fantasy playoffs will be here. So, with that said, hopefully you guys have checked out our waiver wire video. There are some injuries, some bye weeks that you're going to deal with, so make sure you guys check out that to get some players on your roster to help you guys get that if you have not already got a lock into the playoffs. With that said, there are a lot of teams on a bye for Week 13. You've got the Ravens, Bills, Bears, Raiders, Vikings, and Giants. Wow. Like, that is a lot to deal with. Plus injuries, there's a whole lot. So when I'm talking quarterbacks, there's not a huge amount of players that you're like, feel 100% confident really this week. There might be 5 that I have as far as an obvious. Obviously, I'm going to have some good starts and some sleepers. But it's going to be a little bit of a tough one, so hopefully you guys are paying attention. Now, these are your obvious quarterbacks I believe should be starting without question. The only one I had a little bit of concern is really going to be Jared Goff. He's got some turnover issues that's been really big the last couple weeks. Hopefully he cleans that up and has a better game, but he's the only one I'm kind of concerned with a little bit there. But going into the starts, I'm going to have Russell Wilson as a good start this week. Going against the Texans, who are okay defensively, right? Wilson is going into a game where he should find some success. Texans are allowing a lot of points to the quarterback. They're also a team that has been scoring a lot, making teams into the pass-heavy offense that maybe they're not necessarily used to. So Broncos will have to pass a lot. Texans are allowing 21.6 points, and on top of that, allowed 6 touchdowns in the last 4 games. Russell has done a pretty good job. He's been averaging 17 points a game. And on top of that, has a really good connection with Courtland Sutton. The offense looks a lot better. He's not throwing the ball to the other team, which has been fantastic. They are utilizing their backs in Perrine and Javonte as well. So this is a well-rounded offense and a team that is on a hot streak. So that is a good thing. Now, I'm not putting Stroud as a sit in this game, but just mind you, watching how this defensive team has been for the Denver Broncos, I know Stroud should perform well, but I'm actually really hesitant of starting him this week if I have some other quarterback options, just because I do have some, just watching how this defense is playing, I do have some questions of how Stroud is going to perform. He'll probably wow me and still do as well as he's been doing all season, but I'm still a little nervous. So again, I'm not putting him as a sit in this video because I still think you still got to play him. But if you have a better option, I'm looking to sit Stroud. I know, it's crazy. Now, another quarterback I'm going to start this week is going to be Brock Purdy versus the Eagles. This is going to be a great game between these two in the NFC. These two are going to be playing for possibly seeding. Right now, obviously, the Eagles are dominating the NFC with their 10-1 record. They still need to win out. I get like there's this, if they lose, they're still in a good spot. Yes, sure. But if Philly loses and Cowboys win on Thursday night, then they play each other and Cowboys win, there's a chance now Philly drops down and could possibly go to the 5th seed or 6th seed. Like this is a huge game between these two. And I love this matchup. Really, I love this matchup for Brock Purdy. I know I put Hurts as an obvious start just because of his rushing ability. He's been fantastic when it comes to that aspect. But Purdy's going against a Philly team that is just absolutely horrendous against the pass. Last 4 games, they're like just allowing a huge amount of touchdowns, 2 per, I think, game. On top of that, he gave up a huge game to Josh Allen, who put up over 35 fantasy points. Like Josh Allen had the best game of the season. And again, a team that's allowing over 275 passing yards. Purdy should have some success. He's been great with his, and this is an offense where I think Shanahan should utilize McCaffrey, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle. Like this team is well-rounded, built to succeed, and put Purdy in a position where he should have a huge amount of touchdowns. Like I don't think he's going to do quite as well as Josh Allen. I do expect him to get to that 20 to 22 point range, just because of the way this defense has been struggling against the pass. I like Brock Purdy a lot. Trevor Lawrence is another quarterback I like this week going against the Bengals. Lawrence has struggled for really the most part of the season, except for the last 2 weeks, and that's definitely a reflection of what happened last season. Last season, he struggled, And then all of a sudden he turned it around and had an amazing finish to the end of the season. And I expect something similar. Now, in the last 2 games, he's averaged 28.87 points, and he's had 3 rushing touchdowns, which has been huge for him, especially in the fantasy space. Bengals are allowing 19.9 points a game and over 300 passing yards a game as well. So, do I expect anything differently? No, I expect Trevor Lawrence to have some success, probably 280 passing yards, a couple touchdowns in the game. I don't think he's going to have that streak of the rushing touchdown, but who knows? Because if they get down in the red zone, they have used his legs to help score. So he might have another opportunity, but I do expect him into that 20 to 25 point range just because the Bengals haven't been great. Now, there's a good chance that maybe Jacksonville's up big and they start changing it to, the run and he's not passing as often. Sure, the game script may affect that. I don't think that's going to be a big one here because Jacksonville's pass defense has struggled and Browning may surprise you. You may actually have a decent game, nothing super, but they might be able to be competitive enough to allow Trevor to still pass most of this game. Now, as far as quarterbacks, first quarterback I'm going to say is Matthew Stafford versus the Browns. Cleveland continues to be a very strong defensive team, especially against quarterbacks. Stafford has just come off his best game of the season, passing for 4 touchdowns. I don't expect that same type of performance in this game against Cleveland. Now, the only thing that is at least going to help the Rams is the fact that Myles Garrett is dealing with an injury that may cause him to miss this game, which if he does, it's just a huge rippling effect in general, right? If Myles Garrett isn't playing, he's not putting the pressure on the quarterback, which is not allowing the corners to take advantage or the safeties. Or again, linebackers, this is going to be a rippling effect if he does not play, which might change my stance a little bit on Matthew Stafford, but Matthew Stafford has not been playing great all season. So realistically, that 4 touchdown game is more of a game that it just happens every once in a while for him. And it was a good matchup for him, but I don't expect him as a good matchup this week. Another quarterback I'm going to say is Baker Mayfield versus the Panthers. Since the bye week for the Panthers have been great against the pass, holding quarterbacks to 10.7 points a game and holding them to 163 passing yards a game. And that was even with quarterbacks like Stroud, who put up 12.7 points. You had Dak, who put up 16 points. There was still some decent quarterback play against them, and the Panthers still had some success and did a really good job in those 5 games since their bye week. So Mayfield, who's had some issues, throwing 3 interceptions in 1 in each game the last 3 games. He's struggling with turning over the ball. He's dealing with injuries himself. He doesn't look as nimble. I know he had dealt with an ankle injury over the weekend. So with that said, Baker, I think he still continues an interception or turnover. I do expect him to have some decent yards, maybe a touchdown, but I'm not looking for him to wow me this week. This is going to be a tough matchup for him. Now, the last quarterback I'm possibly sitting, depending on how your roster is built, it's going to be Kyler Murray versus the Steelers. Look, Steelers have been great against the quarterback. They've been creating turnovers and at least 1 interception per game and holding quarterbacks to 14.2 points. So, with that said, Murray has done a really good job as far as a fantasy world. Are they winning? No. We're not talking about that. We're talking about fantasy. And with the way this works with Kyler Murray, his legs, his rushing capability has really helped him have a good season so far in the 3 games he's played. He's averaging over 20 points a game. So I understand it's hard to sit him because of that ability, because of what he's been able to do on the ground. And he's starting to look a little bit better in the passing. With that said, though, I do expect the Pittsburgh defensive line, TJ Watt, Highsmith, Hayward, these guys to get after him, allowing him to scramble, but I do expect their linebackers to perform well. And overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers should create at least a turnover, maybe a fumble force, something like that. That is going to have really Murray have an average game. I think he can get 15, maybe 16 points and have some success for you and your team, but I'm not expecting a lot out of him. Now, in that same game, surprisingly, my sleeper of the week is Kenny Pickett. I know that sounds crazy going against the Cardinals, but Cardinals are allowing 19 points a game to quarterbacks, allowing 2 touchdowns per game to quarterbacks, which is something that Kenny Pickett has not done a great job at and not being able to score multiple touchdowns. But even though Pickett did not have the best fantasy stats this past weekend without, Matt Canada at the OC, with that said, though, Steelers were able to put up over 400 yards on offense. That means something. That is something that is huge for them. That's obviously another week now with their new OC to help this offense get even better. I am going to call it. I expect Pickett to probably get 250 passing yards and a 2-touchdown game. Like, I'm calling it right now. I think that's going to be his game. This is going to be the one that's going to get him some decent fantasy points. Do I expect anybody to go out of their limb and just start him? No. But if you're in a 2 QB league or super flex or anything like that, I feel a little bit more confident in this matchup. I like him as my sleeper of the week. So those are my start sits and sleepers for week 13. If you guys do have questions for your lineups, you have questions for waivers, if you're still doing trades, hit us up in the comments down below. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell. If you're not already subscribed, smash the subscribe button. While you're here, smash the like button. Stay tuned to our other start sit videos, and I'll check you guys out next time.